My name's Ethan, and if I had to describe my family dynamic in one word, it would be unfair. Growing up, my parents, David and Susan, had one focus: my younger brother, Ryan. He was their golden child, the one they adored, celebrated, and endlessly supported. Me, I was practically a shadow, noticed just enough to get by, but never truly seen. Ryan had a natural charisma that drew people in. From the time he was a toddler, his bright smile and boundless energy made him the center of attention. To my parents, he was a miracle. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one, finding comfort in books, drawing, and tinkering with projects in my room. I didn't have that spark to light up a crowd, and to them, that made me forgettable. The favoritism started subtly. Ryan always got better toys than I did. At first, I thought it was because he was younger that they were just keeping him content. But as we grew up, the truth became clear. It wasn't about age. Ryan was their chosen one, and I was an afterthought. Birthdays were the starkest proof. Ryan's were extravagant with big parties and expensive gifts. Mine, a store-bought cake and a quick, happy birthday before the talk shifted back to Ryan's latest achievement. One year, I asked for a quality sketching set. Instead, I got a pack of cheap markers. That same year, Ryan got a shiny new skateboard. But it wasn't just about gifts. The emotional neglect stung far worse. In middle school, I brought home a report card with all A's, hoping for a moment of pride. I showed it to Mom, expecting at least a well done. She barely looked at it, muttering, "That's good," before raving about Ryan's soccer practice. He wasn't even that great at it, but his single goal was apparently more impressive than my grades. This became the norm. If Ryan showed interest in anything, my parents went all out, buying gear, signing him up for lessons, cheering him on. When I shared my passions, I could barely get them to listen. Once I told them I wanted to start an online store for custom crafts. I'd saved up for months and just needed a small boost for supplies. Dad scoffed, saying, "Don't waste your time on that. Get a real job." Months later, Ryan pitched a vague idea for a sports apparel brand. Without blinking, they gave him cash, helped buy equipment, funded a sleek website, and even hired a graphic designer for his logo. I watched it all, wondering why my dreams were dismissed while Ryan's were treated like gold. By high school, I stopped expecting anything from them. Ryan was their universe. I was just someone who lived in their house. Ryan soaked up the attention, carrying himself with an arrogance that showed he knew he was the favorite. If I got something new, like a decent jacket, he'd smirk and say, "Finally upgrading from those thrift store rags." If I tried to speak at dinner, he'd interrupt, steering the conversation back to himself. It wasn't just annoying, it was crushing. My parents never called him out. When I tried to express my pain, they'd dismiss it with, "Stop overreacting," or "Ryan's just teasing." One memory stands out. In my senior year, I entered a regional business pitch contest. I poured weeks into perfecting my proposal, building models, and rehearsing my presentation. When I won first place, I came home buzzing with excitement, thinking this might finally make them see me. Dad's response, "That's cool. Did you hear about Ryan's new business idea? It's got real potential." Mom didn't even look up from her magazine. That night, alone in my room, I broke down, not because I needed their validation anymore, but because I knew I'd never get it. That moment solidified my resolve. I had to leave. I couldn't stay in a home where I was invisible. Leaving wasn't easy. My parents had sunk so much money into Ryan's ventures that there was nothing left for me. When I told them I wanted to move out and start my own business, they shut me down. Dad said, "We can't spread ourselves thin right now. Ryan's work is the family's priority." It felt like a punch to the gut. They didn't care about my plans, too busy propping up Ryan. That's when I knew I had to forge my own path without their help, and so I did. After years of being overlooked and dismissed, I was done. Their obsession with Ryan's failing ideas while ignoring my ambitions was the final straw. I realized no one was going to give me a chance. I had to create one myself. I kept my plans secret. Why bother telling them when they'd never cared? Instead, I worked quietly. I saved every penny I could, taking after-school jobs like tutoring, dog walking, and online gigs. I told them I was at study groups or community events. They never questioned it, too focused on Ryan. With my savings, I taught myself business basics, staying up late studying tutorials on branding, e-commerce, and product sourcing. It was grueling, working at a tiny desk in my room, hiding my screen from prying eyes. But it was thrilling. For the first time, I was building something for myself. My business idea was straightforward, personalized items like mugs, bags, and notebooks for specific audiences. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was mine. I spent months researching markets, designing samples, and finding affordable suppliers. My first sale, a $12 custom journal, felt like $1,000,000. Someone valued what I'd made. Meanwhile, Ryan's business was crumbling. He'd come home from strategy sessions, really just loafing with friends, complaining about how tough it was to get customers. My parents didn't push him to step up. Instead, they kept funding his flops, paying for new gear, hiring consultants, even renting him a storefront. I overheard Mom say, "It'll work out, Ryan. You're destined for greatness." I had to bite my lip to keep from scoffing. Ryan barely tried, yet they acted like he was a visionary. While they fawned over him, I was growing my business. Through smart online promotion and community outreach, my store gained traction. Orders started coming in steadily. By graduation, I was earning enough to support myself. I didn't tell my parents. They still thought I was drifting aimlessly. When I said I was moving out, their reaction was tepid. Mom said, "That's nice. Maybe you can pitch in with Ryan's work now." I swallowed my frustration and nodded. "Sure, Mom." They had no idea I wasn't just moving nearby. I'd secured a small office in another state, far enough to avoid their reach. It wasn't fancy, chipped paint, squeaky floors, a used desk, but it was mine. I signed the lease right after graduation. For the first time, I felt free. I spent my first days setting up my space, organizing supplies, arranging my workstation, configuring my laptop. It was tiring but exhilarating. One of my first steps was expanding my offerings, adding custom planners and gift sets, which became instant hits. I also started taking bulk orders for events like weddings and corporate retreats. The business grew faster than I'd imagined. Within a year, I hired a part-time helper for packing and shipping. By year 2, I moved to a bigger office and brought on 2 more staff. My parents, clueless. They assumed I was scraping by with odd jobs, maybe still tied to Ryan. They never asked for details, and I never shared. Ryan's venture predictably collapsed. The storefront they rented sat unused. His website was a ghost town. Mom still clung to hope, saying, "It takes time." But even she sounded weary. By my 3rd year, my business was soaring. Multiple income streams, repeat clients, deals with local retailers. I had it all. I wasn't just successful. I felt justified. They'd bet everything on Ryan and ignored me, and I'd proven them wrong. Yet they still didn't know. On rare visits home, Dad would ask, "So, Ethan, when are you going to get serious about a career?" I'd just shrug and say, "Working on it," letting them think what they wanted. They had no clue I was thriving. One day, as I prepared for a major product launch, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost ignored it but picked up. "Ethan, it's Dad." My stomach tightened. He never called unless he wanted something. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" After a pause, he said, "Ryan's got a new business plan. We're pulling together to support him. We'd like you to come home for a family meeting to brainstorm and help out." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "You want me to help Ryan start another business?" "Don't mock us," Dad snapped. "He's learned from his mistakes. Families stick together in tough times." I leaned back in my chair, calm but firm. "Dad, why would I? You've never asked for my input before." A long silence followed. "It's not just about Ryan," he said. "It's about our family's image. People are starting to notice Ryan's struggles." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about helping Ryan or family unity. It was about their pride. "Sorry, Dad," I said evenly. "I'm busy running my own business. I can't drop everything for Ryan's messes." He was stunned. "What do you mean, your business?" I smirked. "I've been running a successful company for years without any help from you." He stammered. "You're not serious." "Dead serious. I'm doing great." He went quiet, then hung up. I thought that was it, but I was wrong. The next day, Mom called. "Ethan, honey, we need to talk," she said, her voice soft and manipulative. "What's this about, Mom?" she sighed. "It's Ryan. He's struggling and we're worried." "It'd mean so much if you came home to support him. He's your brother." I clenched my jaw. "Mom, I'm not coming. I have my own life. Ryan's not my problem." "But we're family," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "You can't abandon us." I stayed calm. "I didn't abandon you. You abandoned me years ago," she sniffled. "We just want what's best for everyone." "No, Mom. You've always wanted what's best for Ryan." I hung up before she could respond. The calls kept coming. Dad left voicemails calling me ungrateful and selfish. Mom sent long texts about family and loyalty. I ignored them all. Then a friend from high school tipped me off. Dad had gone to the local college, assuming I was enrolled, and tried to check my records. When they told him I wasn't a student, he was furious. Days later, he called again, livid. "What have you done with the tuition money we sent you?" I laughed. "I used it to start my business. Thanks for the startup capital." "You deceived us," he yelled. Do you know how humiliating this is? For who? I shot back. I'm doing fine. Maybe you should have paid attention. He tried to lecture me about trust, but I cut him off. Trust? Where was that when I was begging for your support, when you couldn't even notice me? He hung up again. Things went quiet after that, or so I thought. A week later, my assistant buzzed me. Ethan, there's a woman here claiming she's your mom. I sighed. Let her in. Mom walked into my office, looking around in shock. This is impressive, she said awkwardly. Thanks, I said, voice flat. Why are you here? She clutched her bag tightly. I wanted to see you in person. You've been dodging our calls. We're worried about you. I raised an eyebrow. Worried. Since when? Don't be cruel, she said. We're family. Families have disagreements, but they stick together. I wasn't swayed. Are you here to guilt me into coming back? Her face fell. No, we know we messed up. We focused too much on Ryan. We want to fix things with you. I scoffed. You didn't even know what I was doing until last week. Now you want to fix things because Ryan's failing. Her face reddened. That's not true. Just tell me what you want, I said sharply. She hesitated, then admitted, we're in a financial hole. Ryan's last project drained us. We were hoping you could help with a loan. I laughed bitterly. Of course. It's always about money. It's not just that, she insisted. We want to rebuild our bond. I stared at her. You ignored me for years. You don't get to come back now because you're desperate. She bristled. You're being selfish. I stood, pointing to the door. And you treated me like I didn't matter. Goodbye, Mom. She left, slamming the door. Days later, Ryan showed up looking worn out, unkempt, tired, broken. Ethan, can we talk? He said. I sighed. What do you want, Ryan? He slumped into a chair. I screwed up. Everything's falling apart. Mom and Dad are blaming me. I don't know what to do. I need your help. I stared at him. You need my help. After everything, he looked down. I know I was awful to you. I didn't see how much I hurt you. I'm sorry. It was too late. I've moved on, Ryan. I'm not getting pulled back into this. He stood, defeated. I guess I earned that. I'm sorry, Ethan. He left without another word. After that, my phone went silent. No more calls, no more texts, no more pleas. I was finally free. For the first time, I wasn't a side character in someone else's story. I was the hero of my own, and I wasn't turning back.